And here to talk about everything amazing and the Yankees as well as we get ready for the postseason, it's the guys from ESPN Radio 104.5. The team, Armin Williams, Jeff Levac, Armin Levac, Monday through Friday, 3 to 7 on 104.5. And guys, we'll start with the Mets. Be honest, before the season started, did you see this team as the National League East champions?
No one saw them as the Nets. They didn't see them. We knew they had the pitching. The pitching is beautiful. It's young. I mean, with Harvey being healthy, it's great. They didn't have any bats, and they didn't want to go get them. The Cespedes trade that they did at the trade deadline, I mean, that was amazing. And that's why they're the amazing Mets, and that's why they have a clear path into the playoffs. They look great.
They didn't have David Wright either for most of the season.
David Wright, I mean, the captain of the team, he comes back from the injury, the stenosis in the back. We didn't know if he'd be back at all. And he comes back and he instant impact. He's hitting home runs. He looks great.
And guys, the Mets are great, but a big reason why they're great is because the Nationals have been really bad. The expectations for the Nationals were much higher. You're going to have a manager get fired and Matt Williams, Papelbon's out, Harper.
Would you say they choked?
It's been bad for the Nationals, and so good for the Mets. They took advantage of it, and it's going to be exciting to watch. Hopefully, two teams in postseason baseball.
So, can the Mets make a deep run in the postseason now that we know they're there?
Absolutely, because October is all about your arms, and the Mets have the best starting rotation in all of baseball. When healthy, in Levac, healthy is that one word that with the Mets, you always hope those arms are going to be good.
You don't want to see their bullpen. You'd rather if you can go starter to closer. They're going to do great. If the starters are out in the 5th, 6th inning, they could have some problems.
When you guys are taking calls and when you're talking Major League Baseball, is there a sense that because Mets fans don't have this expectation the way Yankees fans do, they're going to be there, that maybe October is even more exciting?
I think so. I mean, Mets fans came out of the woodwork early and often this year. Like in the very beginning when they looked good, they were there. And now that they have locked up the East, they're the playoff team that we know where they're going, what they're doing. Mets fan is proud and loud. And as a diehard Yankee fan, I have to accept that.
ESPN's Buster Olney said the best fan base in all of baseball are Mets fans because they made the ownership. They forced them to make those multiple moves at the trade deadline. So Mets fans should pat themselves on the back.
And real quick before we pivot to the Yankees, if Wilmer Flores was dealt, and of course there was that night it looked like he might be, then maybe Cespedes doesn't come in. Do the Mets still end up winning the division?
What a disaster.
Right.
I mean, if you go back to that night, and he's crying, and we're making fun of the Mets, how does the organization allow this to happen? How does this, in 2015, Sandy Alderson says, oh, well, I never, no, you look like a bunch of doofuses that night.
And he couldn't work that any better.
And he becomes a folk hero.
Right. You literally stepped in one of the best players of the second half of the season.
Yeah. Absolutely. How about the Yankees? Likely going to end up in that wild card, maybe hosting it, maybe not. So let's start with that wild card game, assuming they're there. What are their chances?
Got to host it. I mean, they have to host it. Houston appears to be the other wild card team. You do not want to face Dallas Keuchel in Houston. And then as far as, the potential that it could be Texas or even LA, you want to host that game. You want to be home. You want Masahiro Tanaka on the mound, and you just that's it. Anything other than that, and I don't like the chances as much as I do if they're home.
I like playing the Astros, most inexperienced team in the baseball postseason. They've dropped out since July, and I think you'll see that inexperience in them in the postseason. I think despite their starting pitching, they would have a rough one-game wild card.
Now that we've been through the one-game wild card game before, do you like it, or do you feel like if you earn a playoff spot, you should be guaranteed at least a best of 5, maybe even a best of 3 in a wild card?
I don't like it because when you play 162 games, it's the longest season in all of sports, and then you get to the best part of it, and let's speed it up and get it done. It doesn't make sense to me. I don't like the one game, and I don't like a 5-game series either. I like a 7-game series when we waited 162 stinking games to wait for it to happen.
See, I would take a 3-game series. I like that idea, but the simple fact of the matter is, get your job done. Win your division, and you don't have to worry about a 1-game series. So, for that reason, if you want to be rewarded with a big series, win your division.
Well, and part of the problem would be with going to a best of 3 right now is then you're stretching the season on the back end deeper into November. I think it could go to like November 5th this year. So let me ask you this. Do you think baseball ever would or should consider going back from 162 to 154 and then starting the postseason earlier?
They would, because it could potentially mean more money, too. I mean, you have all those postseason, contracts and marketing and TV. So, yeah, would they consider it? They absolutely would. Would it be good for baseball, though?
Well, would your owners that don't see the postseason that often accept it because they're the ones that are giving up 8 games of revenue or whatever. So it would be an interesting thing. I would think that they would have to find some revenue share that would make all owners happy. But why not? Let's keep it warm. It's the boys of summer, not the boys of, would you please? Can we go to a dome?
Armin, Levac, thanks so much for being here, guys. Look forward to talking a little football next week.
Looking forward to it, man.
Hey, guys, I would suggest you stick around for this next segment because coming up, she's from this area, flying out to Albany tonight to compete in the Strong Woman National Championships. I did a little weightlifting earlier today. That's next on The Edge.